Great. So welcome to our presentation on Google Drive tips and tricks. I think it's been a while since we've had a presentation specifically for you guys at the Emeriti Center, so it's really nice to sort of see everybody again. But yeah, let's get started. So I'm just going to have the three of us who are here presenting today just introduce ourselves. My name is Lois. I'm a junior currently majoring in human development and aging. Caleb, if you want to go.
Yeah, I'm Caleb. I'm a junior majoring in international relations.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm a master's student in medical gerontology, and I just graduated with my bachelor's this past May as well.
So just for the sake of time, we ask that you save all your questions until the end of the presentation. We'll have dedicated breakout rooms for each of the sections. So one on Drive, one on Slides, and then one for Google Docs and Google Sheets. And so if you have any specific questions, just try and write them down or ask us in the chat and we could just respond to you directly. But if you have any questions that you want to ask us verbally, feel free to ask us those in the breakout room so we could each get one of those, like if they're very specific or personal to like a specific function on the site, we can answer it there, just so that way we can get through everything. Also because we're recording this as well. So great, let's get started.
Hi, everyone. So I will be talking about Google Drive, and on the next slide, it'll say that, first of all, Google Drive, it's like a storage solution that allows you to save files online. And you can access them on your phone or your computer. And then from your phone or computer, you can securely upload those files and you can edit them online. And it also makes it easy for other people to edit and collaborate on files as well. So this is the Google Drive homepage. And then you can see at the top left with like the multicolor plus sign, you can create new documents there. And then when you click My Drive, it shows all your documents. And then Shared with Me is files that you have shared with other people. And you can further organize all your documents and like everything into folders there. And you can also have a separate place for just files. So I'll go over that more in the next slide. So this is how to create new documents. So you click on the new button in the top left with that like multicolor sign. And then a menu will pop up and it's the picture on the right here. And then you can find what you want to do there. So you can either create a new folder, you can upload a new file or upload a new folder. And on Google Drive, you can create either a document, which is Google Docs, or you can create a spreadsheet by Google Sheets, or you can create a PowerPoint slides like for a presentation on Google Slides and also Google Forms. There's a lot more, but I think we'll go over it more later about the basic ones. And then on the next slide. So what you can do also is that like if you want to share those documents with other people, or you want to see what files they shared with you, you can go to the Shared with Me tab on the left. And then once you click on that, you can see like all the files that are shared with others or you shared with other people. And then you can just double click on the file to open it. And also like if you want to find like a specific file, you can use the search bar at the top. It says search in Drive, and you can type in the title of that document and then you can find it as well. And then to use the search bar, you click on it at the top and then you type in the document's name. You can also use filters to be more specific, like if it's like a Google document or like a presentation slide or a spreadsheet, and then you press enter to have the results show up. And then remember to always double click on a document to open it.
Great, thanks, Julia. So I'm going to talk about Google Docs. So in similar fashion as Julia just mentioned, you would go to Drive, select New, and then create a new document. And you can go straight to Google Docs, or you could use sort of the function on the top right of your screen, which is sort of like 9 dots arranged, and then it should pull up all of the Google related items. So for Ron's question specifically, that tab as well should also contain the drive and then all of the other Google things as well. So once you open Google Docs, sometimes there are different ways it will open. So specifically, you could create a blank document, or you could utilize some pre-made templates. I'll go over those in the next slide. And there's also a button down below to check on personal or shared documents. So you could choose from owned by anyone or owned by yourself, or a combination of both. And so Google Drive or Google Docs specifically offers a lot of templates. So you could create templates, at least for the ones that are on this slide, are related to like different essays or reports that were sort of built. And then you can go in, open it, and then sort of put in your own information. And so those sort of formats go for resumes, project proposals, meeting minutes, and a whole, sort of spectra of things for whatever document you may need. So when you open per se a blank document, this is sort of the layout that pops up. So I'll go over each one of these in specific, but just for like visual purposes, sort of on the top left are sort of all your file options. Top right represents your sharing options, and then in your revisions, sort of across the top is your toolbar. So anything specific to whatever text you need, and then the document sort of pops up below. So if you're going from Microsoft Word over to Google Docs, it's pretty much the same, but I'll go over a few sort of differences in terms of like how it relates to Google Drive and things like that. So within your file options, I'll go over some of the more important ones, or at least the ones that I've found personally helpful. And so you can email or download your documents. So you can download it as a Microsoft document. You could download it as a PDF. You could download it as also just as a Google document as well. Sort of with relation to what Julia said on the right-hand side, you could move documents across your drive. So if you have different folders or different places that you want to put them in, you could do so under the File tab. If you want to delete a document for whatever reason, you can move it to the trash. And then at the bottom of the file option is your page setup and then printing. So page setup looks more like your margins. So in Google Docs, you could sort of, or on Microsoft Word, you could sort of slide the ruler at the top to adjust margins. You could also do that here, but you could also do it within the page setup. And then if you need to print, you could also print under the file option. Word and Google Docs are sort of the same. I think it's just hosted by different companies. So Microsoft Word, or Microsoft owns Word and then Google owns Docs, but they sort of serve the same purpose in that it's just to make documents. I will say that I think Google Docs is a bit more intuitive, and it gives you a lot more steps or like abilities to sort of figure out what you want to do versus Microsoft Word, which is a bit more like hands-on and you really have to sort of dig into it. Specifically for the edit and view options, some important ones. So cutting and copying and then pasting as well. If you don't know the shortcuts, so like Command X, Command C, and Command V, you could do so. You could still do those commands using the edit function. And then in view, print layout is pretty helpful just in the event that you're printing something. But it does keep track of like page breaks and making sure, text isn't overflowing into another one. So I just keep that one on. Sometimes there may be cases where you open docs and it's off for some reason, but it's helpful to keep that one on. For insert options, Google Docs sort of allows you to, if you want to put in images or if you want to put in tables, again, similar to Microsoft Word, but for Docs, all of this stuff is sort of at the top where you can see it. And so you could insert images, tables, drawings, charts, whatever you really want. And then also for page organization, you could insert headers, page numbers, and breaks. Yes, so all your Word documents can be opened through Google Docs. So if you could go back 2 slides, Caleb. So under File, if you do Command O, open, you can open up a Microsoft document and then it will just transfer over. So that's under file and then open. Cool. All right, back 2 slides and then the next one. Sweet. So under format tools, same principle. If you wanted to align or if you wanted to do whatever spacing you wanted to do, double space, single space, 1.5 spacing, you could do that under format. Under tools, they have spelling and grammar and accessibility settings. So if you have any issues pertaining to visual cues or trying to see what's on the page, you could go under accessibility settings. And then Explore is a cool function where it sort of opens a web browser side by side with your Google Docs. So if you don't want to open a new tab altogether, you would just do it through Explore. And then document tools. So across the top, it could be really intimidating seeing all of those options, especially if you're not too familiar with Microsoft Word as an application, but these are sort of some of the big ones. So obviously when it pertains to text and bold, italics, underlining, strikeouts, those are all at the top sort of on the picture that we have here. If you want to add numbers or bullets, if you want to change the text alignment or line spacing, again, those things can either be done under the format tab or across the top in the toolbar. And all of these are available in both the editing and suggesting formats. And so at the top right of your screen, you may see it says editing. The difference between editing and suggesting is that under suggestions, the person who owns the document, or if you're the owner of the document, you can approve or deny suggestions based on whether you feel that they're appropriate or not. And then viewing at the very bottom, you don't really get to make any changes. It's really just sort of reading the document without writing or without making edits as well. Cool. And then so I guess what Google Docs sort of has or does more cleanly than Microsoft Word is the ability to share. And so on the top right, you could probably see the share function motion light. There we go. And you could share your document with other people. So you could share it via email, or you can create a link as shown on the bottom. So get link. A lot of the USC emails, if you're using a USC email, it will be restricted to people with usc.edu emails, but you could change that by clicking share with University of Southern California, and it will give you an option to sort of change it to anyone without. Or you could just share it directly to their email. So I shared this document with our GeroTech email. Shout out to the GeroTech email. And so even though they're not from USC, I'm still able to share with them because I have their email address available. And then, as I mentioned before, there are like editing, suggesting, and viewing options. So since I shared it with the GeroTech email, as the owner of the document, I can change the permissions that that email has or whoever the email owner is. And so I can have them edit so they can make direct edits on the page or suggestions. And so I could see the suggestions as they're making them, or viewer where they can't make any changes at all and they're just sort of viewing the page altogether. Great, and that wraps up Google Docs. So I'll toss it over to Caleb.
Yeah, so I'll be doing Google Slides, which is the application that allows you to make slideshows or presentations. So creating a slideshow is very similar to creating a Google Doc. You just need to click on the new in the upper left corner of your Google Drive, scroll over Google Slides, which is the third option for me. And then you can click on blank presentation or form from a template, as you can see on the picture on the right here. So just starting off the general or blank presentation, there are several things that you kind of want to know just from the start. And the first thing is the toolbars at the top, at the very top of the web page. And you have a lot of things that are similar to Google Docs: is file, edit, view, insert, format, slide, all these things. And they're actually very similar to Google Docs. So you can kind of like remember what Lois went over in Google Docs and just kind of apply it here. And there's also a tools bar for the Google Slides, and I will actually go into this later, but you just want to know where it's located. Have all these options to create new slides or print it or insert images. Those will all be located at the top, and I'll actually go over those later. You can also choose a theme for your presentation, and you can see there's some on the right here that I show, and there are actually a lot, but the ones I show are like a simple, dark, streamline, and these just change the color of your slides and just kind of change the formatting and just how it looks. And then right in the center is where you will edit your slides, and wherever you see a click to add title, click to add subtitle, or click to add text, that's where you would edit your slides. So you just need to click on it, and then you can start typing away, and the text will show up on the slides. So first thing I'll be talking about is how to name your slides. And when you create a blank presentation, it will usually say untitled presentation at the very top, in the top left. And in order to change that to whatever you want to call your presentation, you need to click on the untitled presentation, and then it will highlight everything. You can delete that and then just start typing away. So in the example I use is, I decided to name my presentation Chinese food presentation. And this isn't exactly what your presentation is called. This is just for the file name. You can like add a title page on your Google slide so that the first thing people see is not Chinese food presentation, but what actually you decided to put on the first slide of your Google slides. So the next important thing you probably want to know for using Google Slides is how to add more slides. And this actually can be done in the top, in the tool. It can be found in the toolbar where there's a little plus symbol in the top left of the toolbar. And then you just need to click on the plus sign or click on the downward facing arrow to choose from a menu of slides. And then you just want to click on the slide format you would like to add to your slide deck. So in the picture on the right here, you have title slides, section headers, title and body, all these different types of slides that you can add. And you would just need to choose the one you kind of want to have, like what kind of format you want on your next slide, and just click on it. And then from there, you can just start editing the slides and putting in all the information that you want on the slideshow. So again, how to add text to slides / edit them. You just want to, wherever you see a click to add title or click to add subtitle, click to add text, that is a text box where you can click on it and then start typing away and putting in the information. And once you click on it, you should be able to type right away. And similar to a Google Doc, once you start typing, will see that there is a toolbar to edit the type of to change or stylize the text that you're typing. So you can change the font. So right now I have Arial on. You can change the font size, which right now is 52. There's bolding, italicizing, underlining, and changing the color, which are these 4 over here. And all these others are when you can like add bullet points, add numbers, change where the text comes from. So yeah, this would be how you stylize / change up the text that you're using. Another important thing would be to add photos to your slides to have some visual element to it. So there are a lot of ways you can add photos. There's one main way is just copying and pasting from the internet. Another is to find the picture icon in the toolbar on the top, and the picture icon is just a little box with what appears to be like 2 triangles or a mountain. And once you click on that, you have options to upload from the computer. You can search the web. You can find the photos in your Drive or in your Google Photos. You can also, if you have a URL, you can click on by URL and just paste in the URL, and it will show, the image will show up. And then also by camera. So if your computer has a camera, you can also upload it by just taking a picture with your camera. So you just need to select where you want your image to come from. And then after the image is pasted onto the slide, you can click on the image and then you can edit it, and you can just crop it or resize it or rotate it. And then another thing is just how to add a text box. So you will need to click on the text box icon from the toolbar, which is the T in a box. And then once you click on that, you just want to click on where you want the toolbox to or text box to go and drag to determine the size of the text box. And you can see in the GIF on the right here, that's what I'm doing. I clicked on the T and then I dragged it to the size I want it to be. And then I can start typing in that box. And then how to share your slideshow. This is extremely similar. This is pretty much the same as the Google Docs, where you just need to click on share in the top right of your screen, and then type in the email address you want to share the presentation. Just so in this example, I'm sharing it with Lois, and you can see that I can change your permissions on the right here, and in this case I told him he could be an editor, and then once you put in their email, give them the permissions, you can check notify people so that when you send it off, they'll actually receive an email saying you shared the presentation with them. And you can also leave a message. And this is just like an email where you just like, oh, hi, Lois, here's this. And lastly, you want to know how to present your slideshow. So at the top right next to the share button, there's actually a present. And once you click on it, it will put the presentation into a present mode. And when it's in present mode, you can't edit anymore. But since you're presenting it, and to move to switch slides on the slideshow, you just need to hit the space bar or click on the screen or press the arrows to go back and forth. Yeah, that was Google Slides. This is now Google Sheets.
Yeah, and so I guess on that note, so sort of back to a question that was asked earlier, Microsoft PowerPoint is compatible with Google Slides, and then now that I'm talking about Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel is compatible with Google Sheets. So I'll just go over a very brief introduction on Google Sheets, but Google Sheets in and of itself could probably have its own presentation with how complex and how many codes there are. But if you use Microsoft Excel, just know that a lot of the formulas that you use and a lot of the ways that you adjust or characterize things is compatible with the Google Sheets stuff. So creating a new spreadsheet, I mean, as we've all shown, I think that's sort of the beauty of using Google applications, is that they're all sort of in one place. And so you can go to Drive, select new, and then open a new Google Sheet. And so blank spreadsheets, again, very similar to the Excel format. Along the top, again, similar notion to the docs and the slides formatting. I guess some more important ones, obviously merging cells, creating borders, wrapping text, but they are all pretty much similar to things that have been shown. And also, I guess, again, so if you go under File, select Open, you can carry over Excel sheets over into Sheets, and they will just replicate themselves accordingly. So some key features. So some that I use, at least under View, freezing rows helps a lot. So if you sort of have like titles at the top of your table and you're sort of scrolling through and you don't want to scroll all the way back to the top to figure out, oh, what is this column about? You could freeze that row or column so that way when you start scrolling, it sort of carries over with you. At the bottom of View, you could zoom in or use full screen. Sometimes when there are a lot of numbers on the page and I can't keep track of all of them, I like zooming in on specific portions just to sort of figure out, what code or what equation do I need to write. And then under Insert, if you want to insert specific rows above or below or columns to the left or right of a certain one, I found that option to be very helpful rather than just randomly inserting one and not knowing where it ended up. Again, so you can open or import from Excel, and so you can also download into an Excel format or PDF or ODS. I think, there are also CSVs and TSVs as well for anybody who is using, I believe, Tableau for whatever reason, or any sort of dashboard those will carry over very nicely. Yeah, so that wraps up our presentation. So these are some presentations to look out for. So hopefully these will also be in your newsletter as the weeks go by. Can you do next slide real quick, Caleb? So I'm going to open up 3 separate breakout rooms. And so how we usually do this is if you want to be in a certain breakout room, I'll sort of go through each of them. And then if you want to type in the chat or raise your hand using the raised hand function, I'll assign you to that room specifically. So Julia will be talking about Drive, Caleb will be talking about slides, and I'll be going over the docs and sheets portion. So is there anyone who's particularly interested in Google Drive? Okay, anyone on Google Slides? Or anyone on docs or sheets? Or we can, okay. So Connie, are you here for slides or docs? Oh, I can answer questions about both. So if you have questions about docs or sheets, I can answer either. So Connie, and then Sharon, I'll also put you in that room just so that we can answer your question as well. Yeah, so I'll just go into the room. Is there anyone else who has questions about docs or slides? Oh, Richard. Okay, I got you. Sorry about that. Okay, and then Paul for Drive. Okay. Caleb, if you want to like hang out here, and if anyone has any questions, just shoot me a text. But I'm going to open up the rooms. So I will go to the docs room. Hello, everyone. Yeah. Wants to kick us off,
Hi.
Sharon.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Sharon.
Hi,
Hi,
Connie.
Professor Carnegie. Sorry.
Hi, Connie. How are you?
Yes, thank you. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you. Long time no see.
Yes.
Lois, is that how you say your name?
Yep, perfect.
I never ever use or am not interested in Excel, but I have some real difficulties with docs. Is it possible if we go through docs first so that if I need to leave early, I don't disturb
Of
the.
course. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see my screen right now?
Mhm.
So this is sort of a test document. So did you have any specific questions or did you
Yes,
want me to just sort of run?
I have a very specific question, and I
Sure.
don't know if you can help me, but prior to COVID, I was also associate dean of my school, professor in my school. So I did a lot of reports and narratives and curricula and that sort of thing. And when we switched to Google Drive in our school rather than our usual storage, I started having a major problem with Google Drive that was driving me crazy, and I stopped using it because of it.
Gotcha.
And that was that all of my administrative files were in Word, and I would often go into my Google Drive, pull up a document that had been already created. I would spend about an hour working on edits and revisions. And then when I would save it and open it again, all my revisions were lost. There was no way that I could figure out how to work on my docs and save them in Google Drive so that all my edits would be preserved. And
Okay.
that's what drove me out of using Google Docs. And it's one of the things that brought me here to understand what I might have been doing wrong, and why this was not working. So my question about integrating Word and Google Docs is what totally still mystifies me
Sure.
about this. I understand that they're different programs and they can read each other, I assume, or maybe it only goes in one direction. But when I would use tracking and make all my revisions on a Word document and spend hours on it and then not be able to save it as a Google Doc was driving me crazy. So this is my major, major concern about using both programs equally. You know,
Mhm.
my publisher always, you know, demands that everything I give them is in Word. And
Mhm.
then at school now, we're using so much Google Docs, and I'm not finding that integration helpful or useful. So can you help me with this?
Yeah, of
I don't know
course.
if other people have this problem, but it has been a major problem for me.
Yeah. So there are two ways that we could go about doing this. So if you want to go from Word to Docs,
Mm-hmm.
the thing is when you make edits on Word, they don't automatically transfer over to Docs. So you would have to
That's what I
upload it.
discovered.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
can be a bit tedious, but let's say that you had a document on, I feel like this might be easier for you if you work off of Docs and then transfer it over to Word. So
Okay, but
say,
then all my files are in Words.
right. So
So
you,
to recreate them in Docs, what would I do?
okay, so you can go file here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm not sure why this is not working right now. Let me create a new document.
Sorry, I don't have my own stuff open, so I'm just letting you show me. But
Yeah, no worries. We do this a lot for the paper as well, surprisingly. And so
yeah,
sometimes,
and so what you're suggesting is that you have to open and convert a Word doc to a Google Doc. Is that correct?
yeah, not
And
sure.
then if you've edited in Google Doc, can you transfer it back to a Word doc?
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay, good.
when you make those edits, you could sort of build them in here and then transfer them over. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Let me stop my share and let's see if I can fix
Sorry
this.
about that. I hope I'm not boring you, Connie and Florence.
No, you
No,
know,
it's good.
actually, I don't know about Google Docs, and the executive board is now starting to use Google Docs, and so that's why I'm interested with this too.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we transferred over, you know, and even in my professional work, everything that I do with my publishers has to be shared through Word docs for, you know, their editing purposes. And so I understand the value of sharing through Google, but it's driving me crazy having to use two different programs for different kinds of work and, you know, sort of convert them and share them and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of makes work. I'd like to use one or the other.
No, absolutely. No, that makes sense. I know a lot of people, you know, when they sort of started making that switch. Also, a lot of people make that switch because Google Docs is easier to work with, or
But
not
see, I
easier to
find
work
it
with, but
the
it's like,
opposite. You
yeah,
know, maybe it's what you're familiar with, but I find Word so much easier to do my professional work with
right.
because of the citations and the way that tracking works in there and the way, so, you know,
Yeah, I misspoke. I meant not easier, but I think it's cheaper because
it
sometimes
is
people don't
cheaper.
want to. So people
Yes, it
sometimes
is
people don't want to buy
cheaper.
Office, and
Yeah.
I think even for me, I was like, oh, I have to buy Office. But when a lot of schools switched over to Google Docs, they were like, oh, it's free, so you could just do it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
I think that's why we switched.
yeah, I understand your frustration though. So you would go through open. I'm not sure if you could see like the Chem
Mhm.
350 stuff. Do
Yeah.
you see that? Okay.
Mhm.
So on my desktop, I uploaded document from one of my classes. So this is my Gero
Okay.
414 syllabus, right? And so it's in document form, DOCX. When I open it, sometimes it could transfer over pretty nicely. And so it will create a new document sort of through here and then open up the document as it was on Word onto here. So
Okay.
let's say you transfer all your files. That can be a bit tedious, but I promise you that I'll show you how to make edits and suggestions so that way it's easier on you rather than having to upload it every single time. So the beauty of it is that, as I sort of mentioned before, there are different ways to sort of edit. And so if you want to keep track of your revisions, they can keep, let's say up here where it says view a few seconds ago. So this shows the version history. So let's say that throughout the course of the year, I make edits and changes on this document. I can sort of keep track of all of those here. And so this isn't really a good example, but I could pull up another document later and sort of show how version history works, especially in the newsroom where we have papers that come in like a week prior. I could sort of show you like how changes occur over the course of that whole week. But for today's purpose, this is sort of what it shows. Basically, again, yeah, you could sort of make edits here and then sort of, it will show you those edits. I know on Microsoft Word, when I used to have copy editors take exams, it could show like edits here. And so when you go into suggesting mode, so usually it's automatically in editing. You could switch it to suggesting mode. So let's say for some reason I don't like my professor's syllabus.
So tracking in Word, it's
Suggesting, tracking, and then here it's suggesting. Yeah.
Okay.
But it sort of serves the same purpose. So let's say I don't like my professor's office hours for whatever reason, and I think that there should be from 6 to 7.
Got it. Okay, I see that.
So if you were to share it with your publisher or to share it with other people, they can sort of go in and approve or reject suggestions.
Okay.
So if my professor came in and was like, no, I'm keeping it from 4 to 5, it says from 4 to 5.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. And so again, the principle is sort of the same. I know on Word or on Docs, it like does like the red strikeouts and then has the things on the side as well.
Correct.
Too. And I think we even had we had used that prior as well. And so when you go in, you can like, even for things like paragraph spacing, or if you feel like this is misspelled, it will sort of make all of those edits here. And so in suggesting mode, you sort of have the power to agree or disagree.
Right.
Like I want
that's not a problem. So basically you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, that you can open a Word doc into a Google, make your edits here, however, the editing program allows. And then when you're done, you save it here.
Right. And so let's say you want to bring it back, you send it to your publisher and you want to send it as a Google or as a Microsoft Word.
Right. Okay. So how would that happen then?
So you go to File, Download, and then Microsoft Word is the first option.
Got it. Okay.
And
okay.
Okay.
Could you do one other thing for me? I've got it. And first of all, I want to compliment you on how clear you are.
Thank you.
I have tried so often since the institution of Google Drive at USC to get someone to explain this to me. I've asked this, I would guess, 4 or 5 times of different people. And I've never understood a word that anybody said to me. It's very clear, so I want to compliment you on it. I absolutely get it. The one thing I want to see again, if you don't mind, is how you opened the Google Doc the Word doc into the Google Doc. So that's very first step.
So going from Microsoft Word to Google Docs.
Correct.
Yes. Gotcha.
So here, when you under File, if I want to download it, I would download it through the Microsoft Word, and I'm assuming it would just go somewhere onto my download file, correct?
Exactly. So it would save on your downloads, and you can sort of use it wherever you want on your computer.
Okay, great. So the one thing I kind of missed when you started was how you got the Word doc
Word
into
to-
this place, because I think everything else is intuitive and I can figure it out. I edit and work and write so much that all makes sense to me. You know, the suggesting is tracking. I
Yeah.
get it. It's
Yeah.
just this manipulation.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I get that question a lot, even for like for sheets and for slides as well. It's like some of my professors will request it like in like some like a very specific form, and it's like I have to go back and forth. But
Mhm,
for your question, so it's under the same place. So open right here.
mhm.
You just
Okay,
click
okay.
open. And so it will ask you if you want to open a file. So it'll automatically bring you to other Google documents that you have on your computer.
Correct.
So let's say you want to open a Word file. So you would go to upload, and so it
That's
will
what
pop
I
up
think
here.
I was doing wrong then.
Yeah.
It was the upload that I missed. Okay.
Yeah. And then you could choose a file on your computer. So if you save like a Microsoft Word into a specific folder, select,
Great.
you open here, and then all of
Okay.
the folders are here.
Okay. Okay. It was the upload that I missed.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very good. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I feel like there was one other niggling question here, but I'll just listen for a while if it comes back to me. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, Connie, Florence.
It's okay.
I hope I did
Can,
that.
can, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Now we have a Google Drive. I
Mhm.
open that file from time to time. And then I upload my Word document to the Google Drive and to
Right.
save it onto that file. When I open it, like for example, an Excel file, does it makes it when I just edit it there? Is it a Google Doc? Google,
Oh yeah. So that's a good question. So sometimes I think let's see.
because I always upload my Word file to our Google Drive because that's what, you know, the executive board, you know, Professor Carnegie, the executive
Yes.
likes me to save my files now to the Google Drive. And sometimes I have to make an edit. I just go to the file, to the Google Drive, and then just edit from there. Is
No,
that I'm editing it from the Google Doc?
yeah, so that's a good question. So let me pull up one from the paper that we have. So when you make edits on the Google Doc, it will save to that specific document. But if you were to share it via Microsoft Word, you would have to, as I sort of showed before, you would have to download it and then share it again.
Okay.
So don't worry, these stories already ran, so technically I don't have to worry about confidentiality. But say that this was like a story that we ran in the paper just recently, and so say throughout the course of time, I have made edits on this document. Our news editors have made edits on this document, and then other managing editors as well. And so I think also to Sharon's question as well, you could sort of see like the progression of the article as it goes along. And so like I have my edits and then also edits here and then final edits. And so you could also revert back in time, I guess, for lack of a better term. So up here is like restore this version. So say that somebody had made a mistake or you want to revert it back to a previous version, like with these edits, I could restore the version. For Connie's question, if you were to make edits, they don't automatically transfer over to like a Microsoft Word document. So that's sort of where I think like the divide is, because some people may expect that if you make the edit in Google Docs that it automatically carries over, but you have to download it again, and then that new document will be the one with the edits. Which is why I would recommend transferring it over to Google Docs, so that way you don't have to download it over and over again. And you could also keep track of everything while it's saved on your drive as well. Does that answer your question, Connie? I feel like I accidentally
how do you get that restore this version?
Oh, right.
When does it appear?
Yeah, so it should be at the top right here. Let me see.
So that's after editing the Google Doc. then if you want to restore that edit, then you have to go to file.
Yeah, so you go to File, Version History, and then see Version History. And you can see all the edits of the past, even when the document was created, like early steps. And so, yeah, so File, Version History, this is the current version, and then version history is the one I had before.
And so where is the restore this file?
Oh, right. So you click under version history, and whichever one you want specifically. So today's 18th, say I wanted it from the 16th, and then restore.
Oh, you press a date?
Yeah, so you could select a date, or you can name the version. So let's say this was like, usually we try to keep it by dates, but so this was our September 16, 757 version, or 830 version, and then the one I have today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's the date that appears on top next to the like restore this version.
Yeah, so this is like, it's like the default name. So you could change it if however you want. So if I wanted this to be like version 1, then it changes to version 1. It just keeps track of the dates for your, personal benefit, and that you could sort of keep track of, oh, when was this made? Like, when was this edited?
So it is, what is it? It's file, then what again?
Right, so let me go back. So file, and then version history.
Oh, version history. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Florence, did you have any questions for docs, or was it a Shane's question?
Well, I haven't been using docs myself, other than when someone would email me a link and share a document with me. And what I found was usually it would work, like they would share, and it would be in, there would be a document that I would be able to access. But sometime recently I received, when someone sent me a link to access a shared document, but I couldn't access it. And this was off, not on my USC email, but it was on a home email.
Right.
And then I also have another email that it's not a Gmail account, but it's associated with Gmail. So I think that when I tried to access the Google Doc, it thought I was associated with the other email account instead of the email, that the home email that it sent it to me, and it wouldn't let me access it. Do you have to be on a certain email, or like, how does it know who you are?
Yeah, great question. So under the share function here, sometimes, so are they sending you like links, or are they sending you like emails? Like it's an email that says like open.
And so usually it works. So they'll say, they're sharing a document, and you click on the link, and then it goes to, it's a Google document, and it's shared, it's fine.
Right.
But another group, they sent me a document. I clicked on the link, and it said that I didn't have access. I had
Yes, Florence, this has happened to me a number of times as well. Thank you for asking. And I've never figured out a pattern in why. And then I just give up. I don't open it.
Right, I couldn't open it. I sent them an email.
I don't have access. And then I put in my USC password and I still don't have access. I just quit. This has happened to me a number of times, and I don't know what's going on either. And then other times it's fine.
Yeah, most of the time it's fine, but sometimes it just won't let me in. I don't know what.
Let me see.
I've had the same problem.
An example. So unfortunately, guys, this may be more on the owner of the document more so than you, because that may be the nature of things. But let me test something real quick. So this is the email that I send out to all of our GeroTech people when it comes to slides. So is this like what you see, Or do you see like the more formal email where it's like open document and has like a blue box? Or do you just get a link?
Sometimes I
it.
get both.
Okay, so with links, usually it's a hit or miss. Sometimes people will create links and then forget to change the permissions. So let's say I wanted to send you guys this story. And so automatically the university puts it to only people with usc.edu emails can open this, right? So if I were to open this on the GeroTech email, which is a Gmail account and not a usc.edu account, it won't open. And so sometimes people have to go in here and then change it. So this is the link currently, but I can click on University of Southern California and then do anyone with the link. And so even if you have a Gmail account or an account that's not even registered with Gmail or USC, you could open the link and edit it. But if people have it where it's only to the people at the University of Southern California, sometimes it will just limit you to not be able to open it at all if you're not on that email. And then sometimes if it's restricted, then it only goes to very specific people. So even if you have a usc.edu account, if it's restricted, then there may be the off chance that you don't get it. Did you have a question? Shirley?
I think I have a question that might link to this
Sure.
problem, because I see what you're saying and that makes sense. One of the things that's also changed given the use of USC with Google Drive is now when I'm on Gmail, I have a personal Gmail account.
Right.
But then I have the USC Gmail account. And I don't want to mix the two of them. I'm very confused sometimes. And I generally can't get access to things that's on the Gmail account associated with USC.
Yes.
And I'm fearful of, like messing with my personal Gmail account and not being able to get that, because that's where I have all my personal stuff and not my business stuff. But I sometimes think that the problem is happening between the difference between if you have a personal Gmail account that you don't want to share with the USC Gmail accounts that were set up so that we can have access to this. Is my question clear?
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up an example.
So, for example, when I pull up my Gmail now, I have optional accounts that I can sign into.
Right. So like here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And whenever I try to get into my USC Gmail account, it tells me that I don't have access. And yet I'm afraid to mess with it because I think I have to log out of my personal account in order to access my USC account. And sometimes I don't like to do that.
Yeah. So does it sort of show like this?
Yes.
Like this?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's what I saw too.
So
yes,
you don't have to necessarily log out of your personal email in order to do it. But what I would recommend and what I do sometimes is I will share it to that email. So let's say this is an email outside of the university, which is why it's not opening, because remember the link that I have is for usc.edu. But let's say I were to share it to this email, because on this email, so let's say this is my personal email, which it is, I have access, but on my work email, I don't. So what I can do is I could do UC delete Trojan copy, right? And sort of send this to that email. And then it will say like, oh, this is outside of your Google Workspace sharing away, as long as you know it's your email. So I've added a person. And so if I go back to this email, I don't have to log out of any of my emails. I can just simply refresh the page. And then I have access to the document on this email.
But you've created the document. It's not somebody else.
Oh, no, I didn't create this document. This isn't my document. So this document was shared with my email.
Great. And so you're,
and now I'm sharing it with another email. And so now I have access on both ends.
I see.
And so don't don't feel obligated to have to log out and then log back in
Yeah.
into like all these other
Hey,
emails.
this is, you're right, Florence. You've hit something that I had forgotten about that happens enough. And when it happens, it's very frustrating.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can understand your guys' frustration. I get frustrated with my writers a lot, especially if they don't if they don't share it with the right
Right.
email sometimes.
Right. And because I also have a professional studio outside of USC, I also have a number of different Gmail accounts
Exactly.
that are related to that practice-based research that I'm doing. So
Yeah.
It gets complicated when you have,
Yeah, it does. No, I feel you. So
yeah.
let me even do it through here. So this is the other email that we have. And so I don't have access because remember, I haven't shared this with this email yet. But
Correct.
it gives you the option you are signed in as Daily Trojan here. If I
Got
click
it.
on it, it will give me the option to choose which email I want to sign in through.
Uh-huh.
And so if I choose to log in through my personal email, it should open because I have it on my personal email. Or if I were to open it on the email that I shared it to, I should also be able to theoretically open it from there.
Got it.
Yeah. I think it does.
We'll try that the next time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll try that next time because yeah,
Thank you. That
Yeah,
is
of course.
really informative.
yeah, it thought I was logged in as something else because I
Yeah.
do have several emails. And so I guess it wasn't sent to me at that other email that it thought I was logged in as.
Yeah. I will say too that if you have multiple usc.edu emails for whatever reason, the system could bug out a little bit and it will ask you to log out because of the nature of Shilabeth is like you can only be logged into one USC EDU email at a time. And so even like on my personal computer, I only have other Gmail accounts. But if I were to log into, say, like my friend's USC.edu account, I would have to log out of my personal and then log into theirs. Because if I had both of them open here per se, it would just start bugging out and it wouldn't open anything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's like a word of caution. But this may be a bit off the record. Sometimes I use like different browsers to host different emails so that way I don't have to like log out every time. And so
Oh, that's smart.
like here I have like Chrome, but Apple has Safari. Or if I download like Firefox, like I can open it on that email and then or on that browser and then just have the email there so I don't have to go through the pain of logging out of all these emails and logging into all of them again. You know what I mean?
Got it. That's smart. I like that.
It helps. Yeah. Well, secrets of the trade, you know.
A
Yeah.
secret.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very
Thank
helpful.
you. Yes,
Yeah,
very
thank you.
helpful.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's no sheets questions, which is if there
Oh yeah,
are.
the sheets also.
Yes.
For the Excel, you mean?
Yeah, for Excel.
Yeah,
and
you
then
know, so when I have this sheet open from the Google Drive,
sure.
I have to make make like I edit this something, but I don't this because the faculty said like you don't have to save it. So when I change it, when I edit it, I don't click anything to save it, and then it says it'll automatically save.
Yeah, so I guess that's also sort of the beauty. This is similar to like the autosave function on like Word or like Doc or
Yeah.
not Docs, like Word or Excel or
file.
PowerPoint. It has like the autosave function, but Google Drive like just automatically does that for you.
Yeah, like the Excel does not do that.
Yeah,
it just
Excel,
does it.
it doesn't give you the option to like not autosave. I think it just automatically does it, which is why there's no like save option under the file.
Yeah, that's why.
I see.
So because it's like it just automatically does it for you. And so
Mhm.
that's also why they sort of have like what we were talking about before, like that revision history. So you can go back to like previous ones if you feel like you didn't save them, and you can go back and fix them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so you don't have to worry about saving per se on here, just because again, like you said, it already does it for you.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Yeah, are there any other questions or things that I can try and answer? I could also answer slide questions, but Yeah, just let me know. I'll be here.
Yeah, the slides. I don't know. I have no idea on doing slides.
Yeah, so for
Well,
slide,
they're like PowerPoint, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically like PowerPoint. I could pull up
Yeah.
an example.
Yeah, if you could.
So this is sort of the slides layout. Again, all of them are very similar, like in the base layout, where it's, you know, all of this stuff here.
Mhm.
Let me just open up the GeroTech one. And so, yeah, it's basically like PowerPoint. I think because of like, I'm guessing copyright rules, they've had to like change like the names of certain things when they carry it over. So like
Mhm,
tracking to suggesting, or like
mhm,
version history, or like document version, you know, things like that.
mhm,
But basically it's similar in nature. You have your slide deck here, and then if you want to manipulate the slide, you can insert, you know, various text boxes, things like that here along the top, and then animations too. Connie, did you have like a specific question about
So
slides, or?
this slides in Google Docs.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, so
you can do it. You can transfer it as a PowerPoint
yeah, so
to use
this
it.
is, yeah, so I think they'll actually be doing this later today. So when I give this to like the Emeriti Center to send it out in like the newsletter, and when they ask for like feedback forms and stuff, I'll just download it. And so first option is always Microsoft PowerPoint. I can
Oh,
also
okay.
transfer it as a PDF. Usually I give it as a
PDF.
PDF because it takes
Uh-huh.
up less space.
Oh,
But if you wanted to do it into Microsoft PowerPoint, that's
Microsoft
also
PowerPoint. Yeah.
equally as well. And then it saves your downloads, and you could sort of play around with it. I will say that there may be like the off chance that it doesn't transfer over cleanly, but it's like very minimal things where it's like you just have to adjust it, like in terms of like spacing or things like that.
Ah,
okay.
thank you.
Can I ask you please to do another presentation on WordPress? Would that be possible?
WordPress. We have
Or
our
is there
slate. We have our
any,
slate for the fall, but we've been asked like a lot of ones for the spring. So we've been asked like video editing.
can you
I,
put it, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
video
WordPress would
editing
be,
and and WordPress would be really cool to have this in this forum.
yeah,
If
I
I
think
can make that suggestion.
yeah.
Did you suggest that, Professor Carnegie, when you?
Yes, I did. Well,
Okay.
I just did. There's
And
no-
then you did it again. Yeah. Thanks.
yeah, because I'm playing a lot with WordPress right now, and it's tricky.
No, yeah, same here. Like for the gerontology website, we use WordPress. And sometimes I have to like go through and like organize things, and I have to like text my boss. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really, really helpful because we all, need websites these days, and
Yeah.
the more you can manipulate it yourself after it's designed, the better.
Yeah, I'll keep note of that right now, actually.
So you're a student under gerontology?
Yes, I'm one of the few undergrads in the School of Gerontology.
But you're good with all this.
Yeah, I think
digital
being in the newsroom helps me a lot because it does really force me to have to use Drive. I was also like very big on like Microsoft Office in high school, and that was the only thing that I would use. And then when I got to USC, they were like, "Oh, we're doing everything in Drive." I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
Lois, this is your generation. This is your
Yeah.
You can-
And our generation is
when
just
when
like,
when I first started working on computers, it was all basic, and I was
yes.
going in and messing with the actual program. And now you can't do that. And
Yeah, now you
I
can.
find it harder to adjust to programs that just do it themselves sometimes
No, you're
than
absolutely right.
the old days where you could